Welcome to Mini Stories, where we will be listening to Reddit stories. I-25 female insulted my boyfriend 28 male after I found out his secret. My boyfriend Ben 28 male and I-25 female have been dating for almost 2 years. While our relationship is not perfect, it's pretty damn close. Our biggest disagreement was when I switched oat milk brands and he kept forgetting and bringing the other brand. We're both quite naturally calm people and prefer a constructive discussion to a heated argument. This is why what happened last week caught me off guard. Towards the beginning of our relationship, when we weren't exclusive, Ben had a fling with a coworker, let's call her Steph. He is the head of IT at a major firm and she works in a different department, so they only see each other occasionally, even more so now that he switched to remote work 2 days a week. When he told me about their fling and I talked to my friends about it, they said I wasn't allowed to be bothered about it as our relationship wasn't defined at the time and they only slept together once. Some days I will fixate on it and wonder if he talked to Steph at work and if she still fancied him. I know I'm not allowed to monitor his interactions with anyone and would never try to control him, but it does make me feel something when I think about him even being near her. I don't know if it's jealousy or insecurity or even if it's rational. Anyway, last week we got invited to a dinner party hosted by his boss. I'd been to a couple of his office parties before, but only interacted with a couple people and usually was glued to Ben's side all night since I am a bit of an introvert. From my immediate impression, Ben's boss is a bit of a rich prick, but he knew how to throw a good enough party that I began to loosen up and interact with more than 2 people all night. As a teacher, I've always felt insecure around people who make so much more money than me and always felt like they looked down on me, but that couldn't have been further from the truth. I was immediately included on the inside jokes, made a couple of my own, and even got invited to a double date with one of his coworkers and his wife. While Ben was grabbing me some food, one of his friends made a passing comment about Steph. She was at the party, but stayed away from the group we were hanging out with. I said, I don't care about her, but I also have nothing to talk to her about, which is true. I wasn't about to go compare notes with her, and the fact that she did stay away from us did put me at ease and made me not as wary of her. His friend laughed and said, well then you might feel the same way about Molly. Molly was another coworker of Ben's who I had actually gotten on with the whole night. I was confused and didn't understand what he was trying to say. When he saw my reaction, he completely clammed up, but I demanded he explain himself. Another one of his friends from the group said that Molly and Ben slept together. To say I was shocked is an understatement. I then asked how many other girls Ben had slept with from the office, and they told me they knew of 4 different girls. At that point, Ben came back, unaware his friends had spilled his secrets, but picked up on the tense atmosphere. Internally, I was fuming and hurt, but I kept a cool facade, and when Ben asked what was wrong, I just looked at him and said, your friends were just informing me that you're the office slut. He looked shocked and I left to go to the bathroom to calm down. I knew if I stayed at this party any longer, I would have a breakdown and needed to leave. So I went straight to our car and drove home without telling him. When I got back home, I replied to his numerous texts about where I was and told him I came home and he could find his own way back. He got home around an hour after me, and by that time I had already cried my feelings out and was ready to have a conversation. He came into the house absolutely livid, which I didn't understand because he was the one who lied to me. He's never even raised his voice at me for anything before, but he was shouting about how I embarrassed him and word had gotten around to his other coworkers because I reacted immaturely. I tried to explain my position, that how would he feel if he found out I had slept with 4 of my coworkers and never told him. He just kept reiterating that he never had a relationship with them and it was just sex. I knew going into our relationship he was way more experienced than me sexually, but I refused to believe he could sleep with these women and not feel anything for them, but that is beside the point and he should have told me. But all he is hung up on is that I insulted him to his friends. When he was done yelling, he said he was going to stay at his brother's house to calm down and not to contact him until he cooled down. I told him I wouldn't contact him first because I'm not in the wrong, he is. It's been a week since he's been at his brother's house and we still haven't talked. I have no clue where we go from here. Was I wrong to react the way I did? I didn't think I was, but now I'm second guessing myself. I didn't think calling him the office slut would elicit this reaction, but I don't think it was a lie either. Should I apologize or wait for him to make the first move? My issue is not so much with him sleeping with the other women, but hiding it. Comments. Mobile_prune_3207. Where did he lie? Did he tell you that he had only ever slept with Steph? Or did you assume that she was the only one? Either way, I do think it was really unnecessary to make that comment in front of his coworkers. Your reaction was not a cool facade. OP, we had a discussion about previous partners and he never mentioned them before. He said he didn't count them as partners and only told me about actual girlfriends he had. Swacked 17. Didn't you post this on Am I the Asshole yesterday and then delete your account when you got told you were the asshole? OP, I didn't delete it. The mods deleted it and so I messaged one of them about where I should post it instead and they said to check other suitable subreddits. I much prefer the response here. There was nothing productive in that sub anyway. OP, I think having some space from it and seeing so many unbiased perspectives, I can understand where I went wrong. To be honest, I knew what I said wasn't right, but I was trying to justify my position by saying he was also wrong. But my actions are my actions and I shoulder responded more maturely. I think my comment did come from a vindictive place and for that I will apologize, but I think I can only move forward if I get the same thing back. Caballero 12840 Few things mean as little as a conditional apology update. I just want to say thanks for everyone's response. I can't reply to them all, but I have read what everyone has written and just need to clarify a few things. We had discussed previous partners, but he omitted ONS as he didn't consider them partners and only told me about girlfriends he had. Ben is my first boyfriend and I had only ever slept with one guy before, but that man wasn't my boyfriend either, but I still disclosed it. There is some speculation I went through his phone and badger him about Steph. That is not true at all. I knew my issues with Steph were my own and never made him answer for them. Even when he told me I was slightly upset, but again it was something we discussed and I got advice from my friends about we moved forward from. I did not yell out the comment I made, it was only in front of Ben and two of his work friends. I did not ask his friends who the other two girls were as I thought that should come from Ben. I don't know when the encounters with the other three girls happened. I am aware my comment was wrong and I am fully ready to apologize for that and for leaving his stranded. He had to get a lift from his brother. In my post I wrote our car. That's not true, I just think of it that way because I use it more, but it's actually his car. Anyway, an actual update. I texted him this morning saying, hey, I know you asked me not to contact you first, but I've given you a week and really feel like we need to have a conversation. I hope you've been doing okay. I didn't want to start apologizing or questioning him over text. I did that about 6:30 before I left for work and was teaching all day, so I knew I wouldn't be able to constantly check my phone. It's lunchtime right now and he's responded saying he's at work, which is confusing because Friday and Monday are his remote work days, so I don't understand why he's gone in. I texted back and said, we can talk after work if he wanted to come home, and he agreed. I honestly have no clue how tonight is going to go. I really don't want to break up. I know a lot of you are gonna say I don't have a backbone for messaging him first, but I haven't been able to eat or sleep all week and this been so mentally and physically exhausting. My workload this week has been crushing and this added stress has made me reach my limit. Comments. Negative a product 6301 When I first started dating my husband we were going to New Year's party and I knew someone I had slept with prior to our relationship would be there. I gave him the heads up. I didn't want him blindsided by some asshole trying to provoke him or catch him off guard. It wasn't his business, it happened long before him, I didn't need to disclose, but it was the respectful thing to do. I hate being blindsided. I also hate being used as a weapon in head games. It was lucky I gave him the heads up. When someone went up to him and told him, he was already armed with the information and wasn't the one that ended up looking like the dick. Standard middle 6229 I'm still fixated on the oat milk brand, switch Avazella 6, please tell me it's Oatly. Mema Parmesan. Dude, Oatly fucking stomps. Update 2, hey, everyone it's Saturday and I'm still in bed and thought I should give an update. Before I do I just wanted to clarify one thing. I switched from Alpro to Oatly and it's much better. Also I'm paraphrasing since I can't remember everything we said. So I was quite nervous about Ben coming over after work. I was meant to do some work, but was too distracted to even attempt it. I did, however, as a gesture of good faith, decide to cook his favorite meal for him and maybe use it as an icebreaker. I did take someone's advice of writing everything down just so I could keep my thoughts clear. After work I texted asking him what time he would be over and he said he'd text me when he left work and takes him about 30 minutes on the tube to reach home. He got here about 6-ish and rang the doorbell, which was so weird, he still had his keys. I opened the door and we kinda awkwardly greeted each other. Immediate impression was that he didn't look angry or upset, just cold. I sat down on the sofa and expected him to join me, but he just stood in the middle of the room with his hands in his trousers. I said I was glad he came over and he just nodded, then I said it was weird being in his house by myself all week and all he said was, "I'm sure it was." He asked me why I texted him now and not sooner and I said it was because he told me not to I told him I'd been miserable and that I was sorry for the comment I made and leaving and especially for taking his car. He said he didn't give a shit about the car, just that I had left without telling him. I got a chance to finally explain myself to him. I never cared how many women he slept with before. I'd known he was a bit of a fuckboy before we got together, and never held it against him. I just hated being blindsided and feeling like I knew less about my boyfriend than some random coworkers. I asked why he didn't just tell me since he knew I'd be around them and he said honestly didn't think it was important and mattered to me. I called bullshit because he knows how I am and he knew it would. He admitted he did regret sleeping with those women as he never thought about having to bring his future girlfriend around them and tell her about it. 2 of them happened when he first joined the company straight of uni. One of those girls has left already and the other is actually dating Ben's friend who told me about Molly. He said at that point of his life he was fine sleeping around and never really thought of the consequences. I asked why his friend decided to even say anything to me about it and he said they always try to piss each other off, and one thing that gets Ben annoyed is when someone brings up his fuckboy ways. He said after I left his friends felt bad for what they said, but I told him I never would have reacted that way if I had known and he should have told me. He said I was trying to justify my response after apologizing. I told him I didn't want to do that. I do genuinely think what I said and did was wrong, but he can't put all the blame on me. He said the only thing he could apologize for is sleeping with a bunch of women, and since that was before me it didn't make any sense. I kept saying it was the hiding bit that upset me and he asked what difference would it have made if I had known. I did think about that for a moment. I still would have gone, but I think I would have been a bit more hyper-aware of the Molly and the other girl. He said he wanted me to be there and have a good time and didn't want ruin it by telling me about irrelevant shit in his past, and I guess I understood that sentiment because I decided to let it go. We both were quiet there for a moment and he asked if I was done. And if I was going to end it then I needed to pick another reason since this would be the stupidest fucking reason. I told him I didn't want to break up and that we needed to talk about everything, but I wanted him to come sit next to me and so I asked if there were any others and he said no. I asked him who knew in the office and he said only his friend group and they keep their mouths shut to everyone because all of them were doing the same shit. He told me he slept with Molly right before we met. I was curious about why he went into work today when it was his remote work day and he said that his nieces wouldn't let him concentrate at home so he just decided to go in. He did say he was furious last week and didn't know if he could move forward, but talking to his brother helped and he calmed him down. He said if I didn't text him he was planning on contacting me first today anyway so we could talk. So we didn't break up. I apologized and while he didn't so the same I have decided to let it go and move on. I told him I made his favorite meal and he finally kissed me and told me, anyway I know some of you are gonna say he should have dumped me straight away or I should have demanded an apology, but I'm happy with the outcome. I finally had a meal and good night's sleep. Even Ben said I looked like I had lost weight. Thank for the people who have messaged me offering me advice and I really hope I never have to give another update. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, like, comment, share, and subscribe.